I have to say before I jump into some questions about this incredible season that it took me a really long time to not be scared of you, not just because of not Harry Potter, but you, the Patriot. You terrified me in that movie. What
Well, hold on
a
a second. How old were you when you saw it? So someone should be called the social services. If you saw it when it came out, you must have been about 3 years old.
oh no, I'm a lot older than I look. I was like 16.
Not when it came out. How old are you now?
I'm 41.
Holy shit, you do look younger than you are.
Yeah, I don't
Has
go
that been
outside.
good or bad? Has that been good or bad professionally? How's that worked out for you?
No, it's just like I remember when you were casting Harry Potter and I was like, yep, that makes sense. I don't know, the sort of
Do you know what's
unrelenting
funny about The Patriot? I mean,
what.
it was it's been a huge success since, in the sense that it's on every July the 4th, and
Of course.
Americans think it's a Ken Burns documentary mostly, because so many people have shown it in their history classes. But what's odd is I get credit for Bob Rodat's good writing, because if you ride onto a screen, you start shooting children, and then at some point you burn a church with people in it, and then you kill the romantic hero. Really, you could play it in a tutu and in a French accent, and it wouldn't make any Mickey Mouse ears.
Oh
It
my
wouldn't make
God.
any difference, because those are monstrous things, and very rarely do bad guys in movies get to
Yeah.
do bad things. They're
Yeah.
very often outfoxed by the hero, and clearly weaker or cowardly. And I thought it
Hmm.
was great writing and storytelling by Roland and Bob Rodat,
Yeah.
and quite, anyway, it's not the right word, brave, but smart of Mel to let that happen in the script, because most big action movies don't let the villain have power.
Yeah.
So that's why he was scary, because he really did shit and it was pretty nasty.
He will do anything. I remember I saw it with my dad because my dad and I used to go see movies together all the time, and he the part where you kill children. I remember him distinctly with that movie. He's like, "Oh my God!"
I know.
Just
Do you know what caused almost more fuss than shooting the children when I first appear? Is
hmm.
ordering all the animals at the farm killed. People were
That's
very
bad
upset.
too. You're killing
People were
children. You're burning
very
on
upset about that.
churches, killing
Yeah.
animals, of course.
And then
Um,
once I got the bit between my teeth, I remember going to do the church scene, and Roland going, "Okay, you ride up here, you get off your horse, and you walk in the church." And I went,
mhm.
"Why?" He went, "What do you mean?" I go, "Why do I get off my horse?" He goes, "What are you saying?" I go, "Why don't I just ride into the church on my horse?" And
Oh
he
my
went,
God.
"Oh, hold on a second." And then somebody stepped forward and went, "No, no, hold on. I don't, that's not going to work. I did the doors aren't big enough." And Roland went, "Hold on a second. Let's make the doors bigger."
Oh
And
my
then we did it
God.
the next day. They made the doors bigger so I could ride in.
Oh, that's incredible. Ah, I love that. Um, Man, this season of The White Lotus, I mean, I don't have to tell you. I'm sure everyone is. It's just
It,
it's so fucking great. That's, I
it
mean,
did something in the world that I don't think anybody could have predicted. It was quite something, though. It still is quite something. The phenomenon of it.
what a great I saw somebody complaining about TV shows coming out week to week. They're like, I can't believe I have to wait. And I was like, this is what we used to have to do.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Um,
exquisite. The agony is
yeah.
exquisite. Also, Mike has that skill that he has a lot of invisible skills, apart from all the acclaim he rightly gets for what he's done.
Hmm.
People, first of all, give him no credit for the direction. They go, he's a wonderful writer. No, no.
Hmm.
He brings it to life. He creates the atmosphere on set. He gives the notes and encourages the sense of play and anarchy that produces all that stuff. But also, he knows how to write so that that week between episodes is agonizing and exciting and stimulating and all those things, which is an old-fashioned skill that people don't have
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was talking to my editor who is coincidentally from North Carolina.
Oh wow.
He told me when he was watching the screeners, he was like, "Oh my God, the accents," or he was like, "They're so perfect, it's ridiculous." And then we were
God bless
talking,
him.
yeah, yeah, we were talking about how Mike gets, all the credit that he deserves for the writing, but his direction, gets good notice, but we think not enough.
No, it's
Um,
everything.
yeah,
Nobody else could direct it like he does. No one else could empower people to do their best and enjoyable worst on
yeah,
screen the way he does.
that's great. Um, when I went back to rewatch, a lot of the episodes, I think I'm so used to thinking about the lorazepam of it all. How Timothy, I think it's funny how Victoria is, awakened and Timothy sort of goes to
Sure.
sleep a little bit. But I had
Well, he
forgotten.
wishes. I mean, that's why
Yeah, well, very
he's
true.
taking it to try and quiet the noise in his head. But like somebody who takes acid for some relief but has a bad trip, it just seems to magnify and exacerbate all the nightmare
Yeah.
inside his head. Yeah.
I guess I had forgotten that when the family gets to the resort, gets to the White Lotus, Timothy looks excited. He's very
Oh, is that
smiley.
what you think? Oh, yeah.
I don't
Okay.
know. Maybe you could tell me.
Sure.
I
No,
guess I
you
wanted to
get.
know. I guess I wanted to know what Timothy was maybe excited about with this vacation. There's a really funny line when right before the beginning ends, and Parker says to the woman who's taking the phone, she goes, "We're a really normal family, really." And then, sort of right before the scene cuts, I didn't notice it the first time. Under your breath, almost, you go, "I don't know." It's really funny.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess I just want to know anticipation. What was Timothy sort of looking forward to?
So
Maybe
at
he
that
wasn't looking
point,
forward to. Yeah,
being what Tom Wolfe called a big swinging dick, big swinging dick of Durham as opposed to Wall Street,
yeah,
he first of all he's enjoyably slumming it by going to the White Lotus. There was
sure.
a line that we cut that we said when we arrived that Fabian, the hotel manager, said to me, he goes, "How was your trip?" And I said, "A long layover in Doha." I said, "But hey, flew commercial, save the planet." As if that was a big deal to me that I
Big
decided not to
win.
take. Yeah,
Yeah.
didn't take a private plane. We normally have a villa or an island with staff, and so staying in this place to him is like staying in a motel. The idea that other people would be able to talk to you or compromise you or take your phone off you is
Mm,
laughable. So for him, this is enjoyable kind of camping almost. And he wonders how the family are going to cope. He doesn't normally get together most of them. He's away, he's
yeah.
at work. He's not engaged with his wife properly for a long time. He goes to plays golf and he hangs around with the other kind of powerful men. And he's pretty disappointed by his kids. He's
Mm,
pretty challenged by them, and he thinks he's going to have a chance to influence them this week, and he's going to work out. I mean, he's has a busy, busy life.
yeah.
As he says to Pam, and this is Mike's brilliant writing, of all the people who are least seeking spiritual enlightenment, he's the poster boy. He just says, "Forget all this shit. I just want to work out." He's looking forward to going to the gym every day
Yeah.
and spending a little bit of time with his kids, maybe having an influence on them, maybe being with his daughter more, who he, doesn't barely gets to see. He's working all the time because he likes it.
Yeah.
And she, he's a really old-fashioned patriarch. So, for him, it's the girl is everything.
Yeah.
Lachlan's a tremendous disappointment, but maybe he can get him to the gym, possibly. Um, so it's just
Mm,
the chance to step away from it. He's going to be on the phone. He's going to conduct his,
of course.
control his dynasty still, but they don't get to do this very often to coordinate everybody. She's about to go off to college, and he's looking forward to ogling all the other people by the swimming pool. There's a bunch of stuff that,
Yeah.
and Mike takes him ultimately on the biggest spiritual journey I think anybody in White Lotus has ever gone on. He ends up being really embodying Buddha's principles of humility and egoless. And so
Mm,
it was, his writing and my choice to try and start him at the very other end of the scale.
yeah. Every time.
King of his domain.
Very true. Yeah, I kept thinking about I kept thinking about his interactions with his children and how sort of individualized they are. And I thought to myself that Lachlan probably doesn't talk to his dad unless he, fully
Yeah.
has to. And I feel like every single time that Saxon sort of confronts Timothy about anything, in my head, I kept thinking that Timothy is probably silently going, "Oh my God." Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I,
So I mean, if you think he's disappointed, he is disappointed in Saxon, but he loves all of them,
of course.
as witnessed by the fact that in the end, when he was about to kill them, he just can't. Something in him physically bypasses his brain. But they're all disappointments in different ways. And Saxon, in some ways, most of all, because he's there all day at work and he's
Mm-hmm.
aping me, and he's mimicking me. He's trying to be some shadow version of me, and it's
Yeah.
failing. So those people who watched him thinking, "Oh, he's a carbon copy of Jake Lacey" for the first 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Patrick kept his powder dry so beautifully. And then there was that scene in episode 7 where he came to me and just begged. He went, "I'm nothing
Mm.
without you." And
Oh
you
my God.
suddenly realized all that braggadocio, all that stuff that he was, all the, showing off to his younger brother and stuff. He's a total failure with these women. He said, and they all look through him. He's invisible to them. It's a numbers game. Well, the numbers aren't really stacking up for him. And he recognizes that without me and my name and the reputation of the family, he's nothing. And it's heartbreaking for him to say that and heartbreaking for me to hear that.
Yeah.
So they're
I
all
read.
disappointments in a way, but also it's complicated. He both loves his children, respects them for being a bit different, not Saxon, because Saxon's trying to be a carbon copy. Um, Wishes that Lachlan would stand up and be a bit more, get his shoulders back and get down the gym and
Mhm.
get off the laptop. On the other hand, recognize that at least he's charting his own path, and finally comes around
True.
to thinking Lachlan's the only one that might be able to save himself.
Hmm. Yeah, I keep thinking about how Patrick is incredible on this too, and it's sort of the the way that I kept thinking about how Saxon takes the ideal of what he thinks his father did and how his father
Sure.
acted, and he sort of takes that in his brain and puts it into practice. Makes
And
me
gets it
think that,
wrong.
and gets it wrong, and makes me
It's
think
like a
like
hall of
Timothy.
mirrors. He has some
Mm,
warped view of what he thinks masculinity is. But actually, look at me. I've been with my wife forever. Timothy's
yeah.
been with Victoria forever, and I'm a family man. And he's trying to be some version of a playboy. What he's doing is compensating in the other area, trying to compensate in the other areas for the fact that he's not at the heart of the business. And
Yeah.
without my name and my backup, none of the things he's doing would have any heft or be taken seriously, any influence. So he's
Mm,
making up in other areas, he thinks, um, for the masculinity and the potency that he lacks in
yeah.
work.
Yeah, I kept thinking like anytime that Saxon talks to Lachlan about even just like getting girls, and I was like, Timothy, that's not how Timothy would act. Come on,
No,
man. Like, yeah,
no.
you chose the wrong lesson.
Also,
I feel.
Timothy, remember, Timothy's only two generations away from his grandfather being the governor, but I guarantee you there's statues to the Ratliffs for other relatives where they come from
Mm,
in Durham. And there's a wing of the university with his name on it, possibly a ward of the hospital. So he's aware of legacy. It's not like he's respecting Victoria. He's not, he's pretty smart, Timothy. He's had to
mm,
make his own money. He's made money from money, and every door was open to him because of the enormous privilege and entitlement. But he needed to go off and make a fortune. He did because he went to the right business schools and
mm,
things. But he looks at Victoria, and she seems preternaturally obsessed with status. Well, we have status, we have privilege. I haven't had to work for it, but it's all she seems to care about. And
mm.
she's a shadow of the woman that I married, 35 years ago, and drugged out of her head and saying really
Oh
dumb
yeah.
things, which is embarrassing to me, embarrassing at the golf club, and I think embarrassing for the children.
Mm. Yeah, there's a moment, it's near the end, it might be the next to last or the final episode, that line that she says, I'm not meant to live an uncomfortable life. The way that the camera kind of lingers on your face, it almost feels like I never thought that I would see Timothy be a little bit heartbroken.
Oh,
Um,
he is, because he
yeah,
knows he has to kill her out of love. He's been spending a lot of time thinking what his life's going to be like,
yeah,
trying to find a way out. There's never been a problem he couldn't solve with money or power
mm,
or influence, or this is a guy who's, at first when it happens, it's fine. If the newspaper does an article, you can get it spiked.
sure.
I know newspaper owners, and or I can swamp it with other articles, other places saying it's not true. That'll be okay. It'll be a pain, reputational pain. And then I'm going to be fined. Well, I can pay the fine. It's not that big a deal.
Mm,
Or I can jam it up in court forever, as many powerful people do. They can, no matter what they're prosecuted with, you throw enough lawyers at it, it goes away. It's only as it dawns on him that there is no way out. And the lawyer tells him there is no way out. You will
you're
be
gonna
doing
lose
some
the
prison
house.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's stuff that Mike and I worked on and changed a bit to make sure that it was frozen assets and all the trust funds and everything, so that it was clear to the audience, as it was clear to Timothy, that there'll be no home. The home's gonna be,
Mm,
there's no cars, there's no cell phones. Like they are all going to be out on the street. Um, and at that point, he's just the catastrophic disgrace, the fall from grace. The look, he's going to go to prison. At least he's going to get 3 meals a day. His family, I don't know
right.
what they're going to do for that. But when he pictures how painful that's going to be for Victoria and how difficult that's going to be, just the kindest thing out of love will be to kill her along with
Mm,
himself. Um, and I've seen some people say, oh, it's because he's drug addled, he's making those decisions. Robert Maxwell
mm,
wasn't drug addled when he jumped off his yacht. He
yeah.
just couldn't face the disgrace. And he looks at Victoria and he knows it's not like he doesn't love her. He might find her ridiculous of late,
Hmm.
but he feels terrible compassion for her. And he's going to have to put her down. He's going to save her the pain. And then one by one, the children come and unknowingly put themselves on the kill list, which is heartbreaking. It was interesting that they had a big screening for the finale. I came to Los Angeles. We all kind of gathered for it.
Yeah.
And it was in front of an audience. I'd not seen the show in front of an audience ever, obviously.
Oh,
And
wow. Hmm.
that moment in the last episode where Piper comes back, again, I thought Sarah Catherine did this so beautifully because she'd waited 8 episodes for this to come back and admits to herself that she is a spoilt princess and she wants
Hmm.
organic food and she doesn't want to sleep in it, and admits to herself that she's not who she thought she was, much to Victoria's delight. Well, the camera panned to me, and I remember, kind of emotional memory watching the screen. I remember how heartbroken I was that
Yeah.
the best thing for her was be to kill her because I didn't want to put her through the pain. And at the same time as the camera panned to me and I saw that on my face, the audience pissed themselves laughing. I thought my initial
Hmm.
reaction was, "What the fuck? What's the matter with you, you people?" And then I realized that's Mike's genius. He can juxtaposition these things so it's both heartbreaking for me and hilarious for the audience that someone
Yeah.
else has just joined the club. Um, yeah, so it was.
Man.
Yeah, you're right. It lingered on me, and I hadn't imagined that they would all. I thought I'd better kill myself. I can't face this. My ego can't face it. And
Yeah.
bit by bit, I realized they all can't. And by the relief, just the huge relief when I say to Lachlan, "You could live with that money, couldn't you?" And Sam says very casually, "Yeah." And I
Yeah.
think, yeah, you could. And there's a joy. There's such a joy in that, which is why Mike, being the sadistic genius that he is, makes Lachlan the one who drinks the poison and nearly dies.
I have to say the sort of turn I have to say, watching the finale just at home, like my husband was there. I had my phone in my hand and I had my laptop and I was like talking to people that I work with and I was texting people in my house. It was such a, this is
That's
going back
so
to like,
terrible. You're a triple screener.
it was horrible, but it was just like we were all reacting to each other. It was weird. I was doing it in three different ways simultaneously. And it was just like the moment when you realize that he's gonna maybe spare Lachlan because I thought he was gonna spare his daughter, and that
He thought he was
turn.
going to spare his daughter as
Yeah,
well.
every like my
That's
everything blew
awful.
up. They were like, "Oh my god, he's gonna." I don't know. It's
It's ironic though, because I love work. I like having these. I mean, I like real physical thrills and danger as well. I like jumping
mhm,
off things or safe danger, roller coasters,
yes,
or being belayed but jumping off a cliff, whatever, or jumping out of a plane with a tandem jump. So all those kinds of things that are almost dangerous but not really. And
mhm,
similarly, I like giant emotional experiences at work. That's why
yeah,
we do it as actors, to kind of vicariously have these
mm,
experiences. But it was miserable being Tim. I loved
mm,
being there. I loved doing the work with Mike, but my guy is just having the hardest time. And it's for all that acting is pretend. It's you pretend to the full extent of your imagination can take you. And I was heartbroken, and I was very worried about pulling off that last scene. I have to say the scene with the pina colada, because it seemed to me when I first read it, like, how do you get to a place where you can kill the people you love? And then
mhm,
how do you flip it and go, I can't? How do you let that into your life and then think your son's died and then find spiritual enlightenment from that experience? Um, but it's something to do with Mike and the atmosphere he helps you create and the space I was given to, I guess, to feel it or go there, and the way the other actors gave me space and time to. Um, it was less
mm,
worrying when I was doing it. It was extremely worrying leading up to it, thinking, I don't want to be the guy to bring White Lotus crashing down to earth. That suddenly there's a melodramatic scene that doesn't seem true at all because it's very extreme. It's Greek tragedy.
mhm.
Um, so
Yeah,
what it was a huge worry, and then watching it with an audience, thinking, okay, nobody's leaving, like nobody's throwing vegetables at the screen.
no.
Maybe I got away with some of it.
I don't know. I kept thinking about the sort of isolation that he had to like, I don't know, to
That's the
get.
perfect word. That is the perfect word. That was the other
Mm,
thing about being an actor. It's about connection. It's always
yeah,
about listening to people, what they're saying, responding to what they're saying, being in the moment. And Tim is not in the moment with anyone from the
no,
second episode.
yeah.
And anything they're saying sounds like wow, 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 wow. It's like is it Mickey Mouse? Not Mickey Mouse.
Oh,
Tom and
Peanuts.
Jerry.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Are you talking about
like
Charlie Brown?
or Charlie Brown. That's exactly
Yep.
right. Sorry. So when they're speaking about I want to do this, I might do this in my life. Like I'm thinking, But what do you won't be able to pay your cell phone. I don't know how
Mm,
you're going to clean your clothes. I don't know how I can't provide for you anymore. I'm so ashamed. I can't provide. I can't be the man of the household. And the only time that I was present with anyone for the first seven episodes is with the monk when he tells me that
mm,
death is a relief, and that comes as a great joy to me because I can kill
yeah.
myself and there'll be some relief in it. And when my children tell me that they're nothing without money or that they need to be spoiled, because in those moments I hear them, and I'm still isolated because I'm having a
Mm,
whole inner dialogue of, can I kill them? I'm going to have to kill them. What kind of person am I? What kind of person am I? Don't. Um, but it's weird going through that many hours of performance with people when all you normally crave is human connection. And I
yeah.
had to not listen to them at all, which was odd.
I mean, even thinking about how even before he gets to the resort, I think about like maybe it could be sort of interpreted as a form of isolation, but like work, he's away from his family. He's isolated for them, even though he might be surrounded by people. Even when he takes calls, those dinner, I mean, the dinner scenes or the meals
Mm.
together scenes are some of the best thing across all three seasons. And Timothy has to literally pick up his phone and move away from his family members in order to deal with all the shit that he's dealing with. And I kept
Sure.
thinking about, you
I
know,
think he's pretty capable, though. He's a very, very capable alpha male. So the
yeah,
rest of the time, before this show starts and in the first day, when people speak, he listens. He might always come out with a solution and tell you what to do
sure.
and be able to make you do the things he wants. But I think he's present. I mean, it's once he starts trying to quiet the torrent in his head with drugs and it doesn't
Hmm.
work, he's then dealing with the fact that he's taking an industrial quantity of stuff that would knock a
Right.
rhino out. Um, and so the world is spinning around. He can't hold on to a sentence till the end, which he hoped would help him, but it doesn't because it's still a horror show in there. And then they're making noise, and occasionally a word comes through, and they're, do you want to go to a party? And you need to get
Hmm.
changed. Like, what? It's a bit, the whole thing is a surreal experience and hallucinogenic experience for him.
Yeah. I just wrote, I
But
mean, this is,
I don't think he was mostly. I don't know how isolated he was. Well, he was busy and distracted, but I
yeah.
think he was because she's not much of a mum. He needed to be there to talk to his children and listen to his children and be present because she's been absent, though present for a long time.
Yeah. Hmm. Wow. Yeah.
Is my thought. I mean, the truth is, you get from it what you get from it. Whatever you think it was is what it was because that's what you saw.
Yeah.
I can only tell you what was going on inside my head.
I have written on my paper here, descent into lorazepam. That's all. That's all like the,
Well, actually, so my brother's a psychiatrist, and when I got the script for it,
mm,
I called him and I said, "All right, so what happens if I started chugging lorazepam?" He said,
yeah.
"Well, you'd be asleep," and I went, "Okay, well, that's not going to be helpful because I'm in a television series. So,
Yeah.
what happens if you don't fall asleep? You fight it?" And he goes, "Well, you'd be falling asleep. You'd be dopey." And I went, "Right, well, okay. Imagine I was in emotional turmoil." He'd go, "Yeah, but you take all those pills, you wouldn't really care." And I'm like, "Okay, you know fucking use at all." And so,
It's
and
like I
then
need something active here.
yes, and then, well, because I was thinking a lot about Murray Bartlett in the first season, who was so utterly
Mm,
brilliant as Armand, and that the drugs, of course, he was taking uppers, which is different. As
yeah.
his world was falling apart, he was kind of turning it up to 11. And I wanted something, the drugs to do something make to be interesting. I don't want to be the person to let Mike's show down. And then I realized after talking to other people, you can have a bad trip on it. You can be, your
Mm,
mind is still working at a billion miles an hour, firing
yeah.
off, falling into the abyss all the time, trying to think of ways of, first of all, trying to think of solutions, then failing. And they're just continuing to run through all the different moments of social catastrophe and disgrace, and yet you can't finish one. You can't finish a thought. You can't hold on to it. It's just a never-ending cascade of them. Ironically, a tsunami of them, as it were.
Mhm.
Um, so I imagine the drugs were just failing me. Like my body might be passing out, but my mind was
uh,
at triple speed because that was the only way to make me not look like an extra in a Cheech and Chong movie. I was.
but
I mean, I
yeah.
was worried that the audience wouldn't get it. I talked about it to Mike a few times. What if I just look like the stoned uncle in the corner? Like I'm going through this five-act opera in my head, but
Hmm.
maybe they won't pick it up. And he goes, "It'll be fine." I was thinking, yeah, I guess he's right. I'll just have to go through it and trust that he films it right, or the audience fills in the gap for me.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, at least for me, I kept thinking about how the level of stress and the level of anxiety and fear that he has can like overtake sort of anything. So I can see the physical effects on your body, but it's sort of like the way that I kept thinking about it is like I'm terrified of flying. I know this
Right.
is not the same thing. I
No, no, it's
cannot,
something. It's a parallel.
yeah, I can't find anything that calms me down.
Right.
So it's sort of like, and I would take like, things to make me go to sleep. The last time I was on a plane, I could feel my body being tired. Like I could feel it working, but in
Right.
my head, it ended
It's
here.
exactly the gap. I mean, in some ways, that makes it worse. So
Yeah,
that's what I was aiming for. That the stuff that actually made his body pass out. He wasn't even in tune with this. Like he couldn't go to the gym. He couldn't go do some Thai
hmm
boxing. He couldn't get anything out. Of course, there is no solution. That's the great dilemma. Normally, one of the things about acting is you always have to find hope in every scene. Like, what am I
yeah,
working for? What am I going towards? There's nothing he can do.
mm,
Mike constructed it and we talked about it in such a way that there is only the abyss coming on Saturday, and
mm,
the fact he sees a gun, great, there's a solution. I can kill myself. And then one by one, great, I can kill everybody else. And then then the gun goes, which is a nightmare.
yeah,
And then I find a way to kill them, and something human, something unpredictable, something that only Mike can come up with.
yeah,
The circumstances begin to take over.
mm,
That urge that is beyond his brain. He's a very physical guy. He's in his body, but he's very smart. And something, having worked out that the best thing to do is die and kill everyone,
yeah,
something else, something spiritual, possibly something divine, just a love for life and a love for his family in the end
mm,
makes him knock the glasses out of people's hands.
yeah. I think one of my, I'll just say this before I let you go that the one of
I'll
my
talk about
favorite,
it forever.
I
I'm
know,
so thrilled to have been in something so human and interesting and complicated because most things I read and most things we watch are just not, are
yeah,
they?
yeah, it's rich. It's so I've seen the season I think twice through already, and it's just sort of like I moments with all the characters. I was like, I can't believe
Mm.
I didn't see that before. I can't believe I didn't see that
All
before.
right.
And with this season, especially because it is so about wellness and enlightenment, I think
Right.
a repeat view would benefit a lot of people. Because I think that you find something different every time, especially when you think of where you are in your life and all that.
Sure.
One of my favorite reactions that I saw some just like random person on Twitter when during the finale there all they said was who chugs a pina colada? And I was like, well, if you're planning on killing your family, I think you're gonna chug the pina colada really fast.
Oh, I thought you were going to go for quite a lot of people criticize me for dry swallowing the pills, but in some ways he's trying to punish himself.
Yeah,
In some ways he's hoping he'll choke on them. It's just like it's not they're functional. Like he doesn't want to
yeah.
make he can't even go to the length of making life easy for himself because
Mm,
he doesn't deserve it. He hates himself so much, and he hates first of all he's angry at the world, but he hates his
yeah.
inability. How emasculating this whole process is for him.
Mm,
But no, the pina colada was. I was very concerned as Tim, but as Jason too, like trying to stop people sipping it. They all kept on wanting to sip it. Parker, I remember Parker kept on. I was like, no, I wait. I want to, I have to make a toast, and
yeah.
they were all keen, they were all keen to sip. I remember, but this rising panic that I wasn't going to get to them. I don't know if it was me or Tim having a rising panic they were going to sip before I could say my piece.
Yeah. Mm,
And also that thing about if anybody else wrote this stuff, well, they couldn't. I mean, no one can write like Mike.
yeah.
It would be an articulate speech he makes. He would say something, that summed up some neat summary of what was going on for them, so that should someone have a record of it, they'd say it at the eulogy. But
Mm,
he's horribly inarticulate. Of course, he's not. He's drugged out of his head, and then there's nothing to say. Similarly, on the boat, when I have come to a point of spiritual harmony in some way, and I'm embracing fate and hoping for my family, who I know are going to face the worst things that have ever happened to them, that it's the best thing that could have happened to them too. Um,
mm,
I talked to Mike about speech. I go, it's not much of a speech, and it's great. And he goes, yeah, it's not. That's exactly right. Of course not. He doesn't get to say anything great. He can't think of it. It doesn't matter. He just looks at the water, and that's everything he needs. And I went, oh,
yeah.
I was let off the hook. I was thinking I needed to find some way of delivering those lines that was the perfect synthesis, as it would be in anybody else's screenplay. But that's not
Oh,
who
you're
he
totally
is.
right. Well, even if you just think about the circumstances of that drugged out of his mind, uh, you know, the the poison of it all, it's sort of like that's
Mm.
not the right moment to have like this big
Sure. Or,
yeah,
or the next day on the boat when the drugs have worn off and he's going, okay, we're going to get back. We'll go to jail. It'll probably be FBI waiting and the boat lands, and
mm-hmm,
or when the plane lands, and whatever it is, it will be the making of me as a human being. I've
yeah,
felt myself to be, and my family have felt themselves to be better than other people and
yeah,
need to be better than other people. And now we will have a lesson in enforced humility, which is the best thing that can happen to us. I mean, only Mike could write that in
yeah.
a show which is so unsentimental and and has takes such a cynical approach to wellness that actually one of the characters does actually get there.
Yeah. The least person you would probably expect.
Yeah, of course. The
Yeah,
person is,
of course.
what's going to happen to him afterwards, whether that will stick with him or not, whether that stays or not, is quite a few people have asked me what happens next. What do you think? And I go, you don't want my version. You want Mike's version of what happens then. My version is so prosaic and uh,
Yeah,
and predictable. Ask Mike what happens next. He'll tell you something far more
yeah.
interesting.
I have expected you to be like, well, I hope you guys enjoyed your last vacation for a
Right.
while. So,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
Exactly. He doesn't give me anything. But also, there are no words.
No.
There are no words. It's going to happen, and it doesn't matter what I say or do anymore. That water, the image of the water, I think, was so brilliant and beautiful, and that it meant two things. That when I saw it first with the monk, when I'm wanting to kill myself, it's permission to kill myself.
Mm,
And then when I'm on the boat and and somehow the love for life won out and the love for my children's and family's lives wins out, I look at it and I see it as something else, which is instead of death, I see those droplets returning to the ocean as the fact that all of us will return to our sense of common humanity. We
mm.
have felt that we were
Ah,
made of something special, living on Mount Olympus, and we're not. We're just ordinary mortal human beings. And if my wife's got to start folding T-shirts in Old Navy, then that's what she's got to do. And getting a one-bedroom apartment, probably not. Probably some billionaire friend will lend us a
sure.
grace and favor home. But I just, I that the whole thing about surrendering to fate is
Mm,
what he said. That's what I felt in my head when I saw the droplets hitting the water again and go, I want to be part of the ocean. I don't
yeah.
want to be a droplet.
Oh, oh, wow. I love that. Oh, okay.
That's
Well,
why
I,
Mike writes instead of my bullshit,
yeah.
my hallmark bullshit.
um, I could literally listen to you talk about this all day. Thank you so much for your time, Jason. Big, big
It's a
fan.
pleasure. Love you to talk to you. Who's that
Yep.
picture of? Is that
Mr.
Mr. Rogers?
Rogers.
It is
There's
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers and Nancy Pelosi. So it's like
Oh, wow.
kindness and sass. That's what I tell
Yeah, yeah.
everybody. She's just
Very
hiding behind
cool.
the door. Yeah.
Very
Um,
cool.
thank you so
All
much
right.
for your time. Love the
Love to
show.
talk
And
to you.
yeah,
Thanks very
have a good
much.
rest of your day.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.